You can tell a lot about a culture by who it celebrates, but you may learn even more by who it vilifies. Who are the bad guys right now when it comes to making work suck? How much time do we have? Meta laying off 15,000 people via mass email after telling everyone to work from home that day. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman casually speaking about AI gutting white-collar employment. Elon Musk tweeting, Xing, about everyone living on a universal basic income, as if this would be a joyful existence. Have any of these leaders met people before? This undercurrent of disdain for humanity from these bullies needs to stop. Listen, it's not easy to run a business, and hard decisions need to be made every day, but how we make them is everything. And it's time to start calling out the ones who don't get this. Jeff Harry is bringing this message to the forefront every day with his work. He is as pro-human as it gets, helping companies tap into our collective humanity through play. He's also done with giving anti-human leaders a pass. We need to be louder in our condemnation of the worst offenders, and we need to be relentless in our praise of those who lead the desuckifying charge, like Patagonia, Costco, and others. FYI, I'm working on a Desuckified Places to Work award thing for the agency world. Stay tuned. So, how does play bring all of this together? Because it's a massive humanity amplifier. It connects us, energizes us, reminds us of how we can be someone our 8-year-old self would be proud of. And it makes us way more productive, by the way. So all you bean counters can rest easy. More fun, more humanity, more profit? That doesn't sound bad to me. Welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast, the show where we cut through the BS and find ways to make work more fun, more human, and less ridiculous. All of which makes your business more profitable, by the way. If you enjoy this one, please like, share, rate, review, or subscribe to the podcast. Let the desuckifying begin. Here's Jeff. All right, Jeff Harry, welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast.
Let's go. I love the title of this podcast, man.
Yeah, we're having some fun with it, and I feel like it's very much aligned with the work you're doing. I know you've been trying to make work not suck for quite some time now, so I'll give you a chance to just describe a little bit of how you came to be the guy who tries to make work not suck through the world of play.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you ever see the movie Big with Tom Hanks?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I saw that when I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And he got to play with toys for a living. So I was like, oh, that's a job. So in 3rd grade, I ran home after the movies and I wrote to toy companies on my word processor in 3rd grade. And I kept writing them all the way until I was like 16, 17 years old. I even got a letter back from Cap Toys, which went out of business. And they told me to go into mechanical engineering. And then that's what I did. I went to Tufts and I went to mechanical engineering. When I graduated, I went to New York to work for toy companies. And then I don't know if you've ever wanted something so bad and then you got it. And then you were so disappointed when you got there. But I got into the toy industry and it sucked, man. Talk about sucking.
Really?
Like, no toys, no joy, no high fives, just like play. And I'm in New York, so I leave there. I come to the San Francisco Bay Area. I find a job on Craigslist, because that's where you look for some jobs. I found a job on Craigslist teaching kids engineering with Lego. And it was like kind of a joke of a job. It was like, it paid $150 a week. It was like, whatever.
Okay.
I was like, I can't afford to do this, but I'm going to do it just for fun.
Yeah.
But when I joined, there was like 7 people, and then we grew it. We grew it to like 400 people. And it became like the largest Lego-inspired STEM organization in the U.S. So big that we started partnering with Lego. We do tours with them. Heck, you remember you're near the Phoenix Cardinals Stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like run Lego programs where they rent out 20,000, like they rent out the whole stadium.
Really?
20,000 kids descend upon like that area, and we ran the Lego Technic section. So
that's amazing.
So I ran a bunch of team building events for a decade with all the top tech companies. And then it was only in like 2019 I was joking around with a improv colleague guy, named Gary Ware.
Oh,
And
sure.
yeah, Gary and I were like, "Hey, if you could run any workshop, what would you run?" And we came to the conclusion we'd love to run a workshop called "Dealing with A-holes in the Workplace" through play, because that was our biggest issues. Like we were just dealt with so many A-holes, and we were like, "That's
Hmm.
what sucks about work."
Right.
And then, as a joke, we just started applying. So I submitted it to like South by, Inbound, all these major conferences, and then we got in. And then I was like, "Oh crap!"
Now
And
we got to
yeah,
do the thing.
and then all of a sudden we were going to Australia for it. We got into South by. South by gets canceled because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
By then
Yeah.
I got the itch, and then I was like, "Well, I'm just going to make up talks
Mm,
that help make work suck less, and I'm just going
yeah.
to use play and positive psychology to do it." And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Wow. That's a wild story. I mean, the beginning is a little sad to me. You went to fulfill your dream of like,
Right.
15 years,
Yeah, man.
and then reality smacked you in the face. I mean, what was it?
Yeah.
It was just like working in an accountant's office or any other office, but it was
Yeah, I
toys
just
was the product?
remember. Yeah, I remember it felt like the toys didn't matter. Like
Yeah.
I thought we make toys to bring joy to kids.
Yeah.
They were like, "No, we make plastic products and we try to sell them as quickly as possible."
Wow.
You know? Like I even heard a story, and again, I can't verify this, but I heard a story that like I don't know if you remember He-Man.
Oh, sure.
When
Yeah.
He-Man had like a toy where like slime came out of it, out of a snake.
Okay.
They apparently they made so many of these that Mattel or whatever it is, so that later on when Harry Potter came out and the basilisk thing, they tried to use some of those toys from
Oh,
way back then, or
geez.
at least the molds from some of those toys
Yeah.
from way back when. So you're just like, they're just always trying to cut corners so they
Mm,
can sell plastic rather than being like, "Oh, let's bring joy to kids," right? So like
mm,
that was the vibe. And I was like so
yeah.
disappointed with that,
Of
you know?
course. I mean, I feel like that cuts to like part of the issue with work in general, right? There's the current state of work, and it's probably been true to some degree for a while, but it feels hyper focused on efficiency,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like, I get it. I get it. You want to make
Yeah.
money, and therefore, if you can strip away some costs, great. That's certainly an area that should be maybe one focus, but it
Yeah.
feels like the focus right
Yeah.
now, and we're avoiding the like, why do we do this in the first place? What is the
Yeah.
point? You know,
Right.
we're just missing that entirely. And I wonder what what have you seen that helps somebody step away from that if they're really trapped in that like monolithic
Yeah.
view? Like, how do you help people sort of zoom out a little bit and go, wait, what am I
Well,
doing
so here,
again?
let me backtrack for a moment, right? Because I think this will help answer the question, at least for me, is so, you know, I feel in many ways work has always sucked to some capacity, but
Sure.
it feels like it's getting worse, right? And it
Yeah.
feels like it's gotten worse, especially in the last like 40 to 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes from the Friedman doctrine.
Mm,
Milton Friedman,
yeah.
back in the 1970s, wrote an article, not even a book, an article where
Mm,
he was just like, profit more than any profit matters more than anything, and prioritize profit, right?
mm-hmm.
It's just like it's all about the shareholders, delivered to the shareholders. And
Yeah.
up until then, you had many companies that would not lay off staff unless they were literally about to go bankrupt. And
Mm-hmm.
I think at that moment there was a break. And
Yeah.
once that break happened, then McKinsey was pushing like, "Hey, let's pay CEOs more." And then there
Mm-hmm.
was this massive gap. And now it's all about like, what do we have to do to make it through this quarter or make it through this like next 3 quarters? And
Yeah.
because of that, then so many people feel used and it sucks, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
you look at organizations like Costco,
Right.
where like, and you compare them to Walmart. I mean, same setup,
Yeah.
totally different model, right?
Yeah.
There's gets paid only $900,000, only
Yeah.
$900,000.
Yeah.
right? Their staff gets a living wage, and
Hmm.
people are happy there, right? People
Right.
are happy in like places like Trader Joe's. Like you
Hmm.
can see where. So when we think about like how work sucks, there's places where it doesn't suck,
Yeah.
and it's more
Absolutely.
about intention and action, like delivering through action. Like
Yeah.
I know for a fact. I mean, I don't know anything about the Spanx brand, right?
Right.
But I know when the Spanx CEO went public and gave their staff 10 grand each and a first class ticket to wherever they went,
Hmm.
wherever they wanted to go, in addition to their bonuses, right?
Right.
I know where that CEO stands. I know that they care about their staff. And there's
Yeah.
just a moment when we just forgot to care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know when that happened, right? But now it's
Yeah.
like so easy that you can, I just talked to a friend of mine, in Silicon Valley. They just laid off 10% of their workforce. Like it
Yeah.
was nothing. Like it was
Yeah.
nothing.
No, it's
Like
it's
so like
just
where's the
another
humanity?
lever.
What?
It's just another lever, it feels like,
Yeah, it's like
like,
where's the humanity? Where's the
yeah.
just to meet quarter result? And then the worst part about it is then they lay off way too many people, right? And
Hmm.
again, remember why they're laying them off to prove to their shareholders, hey,
Right.
we care about AI.
Yeah.
So they lay off 10% of the workforce and then they realize they can't get stuff done. So
Yeah.
they bring people back. How insulting is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's insulting and it's just stupid sort of business, right? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
you
just
just
done. Yeah.
disrupted the crap out of your whole operation to
Right.
like
Right.
land a quarterly number. And I think, the Friedman doctrine is really interesting because I had some folks on the show previously, a guy named Mike Moss and another one named Joe Palm. They were on together, and they've written a book about servant leadership, and they touch on some of this stuff too. It's just
Hmm.
like this guy sort of decided like that's what capitalism is,
Yeah.
and therefore this is how we must do it. And yet, to your point, well, it was something else before then, and it still is something else to other
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
Costco and Patagonia, and you mentioned Spanx,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Patty.
you
Yeah.
know
Exactly. Yep.
and lots of other like small businesses out there trying to
Yep.
do it like in a way where it's not, oh, I'm going to run my business into the ground just to be prove that like I'm doing the right thing. It's more
Right.
like I recognize that there is actually a path towards a better, more sustainable business model if I in fact
Yes.
lift the people up and and make the work environment better. I mean, the data is all over this.
The debt is dear. You will make more money in the long run, but if you
Yeah.
think about it, CEOs are only there for 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
So they're only thinking about what they can do for themselves, and then
Yeah.
anyone else that is going to also benefit from that, that
Mm.
they will also leverage for their next gig,
Yeah.
right?
That's a good point.
So then, I recently heard something that was just, I found almost, oh, well, it was just disturbing. This
Yeah.
guy was breaking down how AI is being rolled out at certain organizations.
Hmm.
And he basically brought it up as like like a company realizes they need AI. So then they hire someone just to be like the wing for AI. Like he's now,
Hmm.
and they give him a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So then he's all of a sudden like, oh, well, I got to buy a bunch of stuff. So he just starts buying, Chat GBT, Gemini, whatever, like whatever brand he's going to buy. And
Yep.
then he opens it up to be like, yeah, we bought all these products. So now people should use them. Right. So he
Yep.
puts them out. 5 to 10% of people use it. Like they
Right.
don't really care about it.
Hmm.
And then people, then they're like, well, we have to show our metrics that AI is actually doing a really important job. So then they make it mandatory, then you have to use it. Then now
Yeah.
you're starting to use it, even though it's not actually helping you, right?
Yeah.
And you might have like 10 different projects that are using AI, but they're not effective. They're not making anyone feel
Yeah.
better. But
Hmm.
now, like, then you have to prove with the data that it's actually working. So how do you
Yeah.
prove the data is actually working? I'm going to lay some people off. I'm going to lay some people off in order to prove that,
We
and
don't
then
need
it's
them
not,
anymore. See?
and then by then, like they've
Yeah.
now like they've laid people off. Maybe they get an uptick in their stock because of
Right.
that,
Hmm.
right? And then it doesn't really matter what they do next because they already got that uptick. So
Right.
like it's not even they're not I mean if you used AI in a way that was strategic that made people's lives easier that made your
Yeah.
team more efficient, I'd be all about it. But I'm not seeing it enough.
Yeah, definitely
Leave
not
it alone.
enough. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few folks who have found certain ways. I mean, it's funny. I always come back to small business because I see small businesses doing
Yeah.
a better job of this because they're just in the work, and
Yeah.
then they actually have to figure out like the impact is more immediate. I think sometimes in a small business, like, is this working or not? It's not. Okay, let
Yeah.
me try something else. Big business, you can get lost in the back corner office. It
Yep.
can like all these things. There's so much room to hide. So I think a lot of the good experimentation with AI is happening in
It's
small
true.
businesses
It's
or
true.
solopreneurs where I'm like, I'm
Yep.
trying stuff. I'm like, oh, that's
Yep.
actually helpful. And then
Yep.
the rest is sort of garbage. And I think the challenge with AI has been there's an author out there. His name's Cal Newport. Really interesting guy. And he's probably a little more anti AI than I am. I'm open. I'm like, if it helps, great. If it doesn't, then stop screwing around. But like his general thought was that AI was sort of brought in as a kind of this is what a lot of the tech world seems to do sometimes. It's like, here's a thing that nobody asked for, but
Yeah.
we are going to dump it on you. And there's the
And then
old
tell
Steve
you
Jobs.
that you need it. Tell you
Yeah,
that.
there's the old Steve Jobs trick, which he was quite good at, and he was actually probably right most of the time, where he kind of knew the market well enough to know
Hmm.
nobody asked for an iPod, but people are continually
Right.
asking for
Right.
ways to make music portable and
Right.
and not, have skipping CDs or like
Right.
he's like, and I think that just ballooned into something where it's like we can just make anything and then like talk our way into
Yeah.
like this is the thing. And I'm not saying that AI couldn't be the thing. It could very well be a great thing in lots of areas. But when you start from a premise of I'm just going to dump this on here
Yeah.
and then do everything I can to put my like weight against it so that like
Yeah.
people are forcing people to use it and all that.
Yeah.
It's no wonder we're all like, what the hell is going on?
And also speaking about it like it's the inevitable. Like
Right,
we have to deal with it, and you're going to have to deal with it this way, right?
right,
It's inevitable that every state has to have a data center. Why,
right,
right? We're going to find out in 5 years that like a lot of those data centers are obsolete, but
right,
by then they will have already polluted half of
right.
their communities, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, what is the like? Show me AI solving cancer, right?
Hmm.
Show show me AI doing my laundry. Like show me AI
Yeah.
making our lives easier. And
Yeah.
and what's interesting right now is if you think about the people that are most invested in it, they're not they're doing it to make their life easier, but they're not thinking about the regular individual,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they're just trying to just shove AI into great example with HR. They're shoving it into like you should do all your interviews, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, you should filter out all your people.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, you have no people.
Right.
It should potentially do all your performance evaluations or like measure all
Right.
every and figure out who should get promoted and who shouldn't get promoted. What are you
Right.
talking
What
about,
are we
dude?
doing? Like,
Like what are you, like why is it taking over the roles that humans should be doing?
right.
Why is it not doing this stuff? I mean, yo, take notes all day long. I love it
Right.
when you note.
Yeah. It's
But like,
great.
why are you doing creative marketing? Like
No,
it's you're just regurgitating old crap in a new way, you
yeah.
know?
It's really weird. And I think my gut says at some point, like, people will realize, like, well, everyone has AI. So therefore, it's not really a competitive advantage. It is what it is.
Right.
And like, to the degree that it helps you in certain places, great. But then I think it has to come back to like, what are we doing with our brains and what are we doing
Yeah.
with our souls and
Yeah.
hearts? And like,
Yeah.
that I think is still the differentiator. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you see human resources being told to to use robots to
Robot resources.
evaluate people.
Yeah, RR, turn from HR to RR. Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then I'm like, are we going to get to some weird world where there's actual like performance evaluations done by bots about other bots? I mean,
Yeah.
is that what we're
Yeah.
creating?
I mean,
Like,
that's what's happening in the
bot
dating
number
world.
72, you're better than bot number 212. Bravo. Like, what the hell? What is that?
Yeah, in the dating world, I've now heard, I haven't done it myself, but I've heard that you can hire an AI bot to chat for you, but then someone else can. So then the AIs are talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, I mean, I myself had to get off of chat last year. Like I
Yeah.
broke up with it because I felt myself getting stupider
Yeah.
because I was like depending on it for so much, and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
not a good use of my brain, right?
Yeah.
Like
I get
I'm
it.
not working my brain. I'm outsourcing things that frankly I'm not going to be able to come up with creative ideas if I keep leaning on chat to help
It's
me
a good
with that.
point. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I definitely still use them, but I try not to use them for ideas. It's more
Yeah.
research, like, compiling, just doing certain things that I don't want to spend time on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. You think about some of these dystopian movies, right? And it's always like we're in a vat and we're like, like it's not hard to project that. Like if we just create bots to help bots do other things that bots do, and then bots buy the things, and then bots make the money. What's the point of us?
Where are we? Where are we at that, right?
Right. Like
And
so
I think, this ties back to the desuckifying, right? How do we
yeah.
make suck less? Is we need to stop praising leaders that don't like people.
Oh my God, yes. There's a whole
We have
culture of
so
it.
we never knew that when we celebrated all these nerdy dudes that we were making them become megalomaniacs where they
Yeah.
now like Elon Musk really does believe that everything he touches turns gold, right?
Right.
Like even though his SpaceX thing just dropped dramatically in the last few days,
Yeah.
right? But like because of that, you're having all these people that are not good with people, then
Hmm.
of course push for AI because they don't want to deal with people. They
Yeah.
find people to be. We've optimized so much that
Hmm.
now we want to optimize getting rid of people because then
Yeah.
it'll be
Well, people
easier
are
for us to just tell a robot to do it. And then the
yeah.
robot can work 24 hours a day. And you're like, what? Why?
Why?
Like,
Yeah, right. Like what are we creating? I mean, I think you're right. I do think Silicon Valley sort of culture in particular has this odd sort of disdain for humanity. There's
yeah,
almost this celebration when it's like we just laid off a bunch of people. That's like a good thing because it's squeezing inefficiency out of the
yeah.
system. It's like, well, yes, people are inefficient, like delightfully so.
That's the point.
Like
Community is messy. Yeah.
that's like the beauty of humanity is that if you think about the greatest, creations, the greatest works of art, the greatest inventions, like
Hmm.
it's because we're inefficient.
Right.
It's,
Right.
our brains like just bounce weird shit against itself.
Right.
And then something interesting comes out, right? It's
Right.
not like just mechanically spooling up all of the information in the world and saying, here is this
Hmm.
perfect average of it. Let's do more of that. And
Yeah.
again, time and a place maybe for that potentially. But when I think of, this comes back to just the world of work, like how do we how do we foster more of the Costco's, the Patagonias, the Spanx, the whomever? Like, what is the path towards a parallel culture? If sort of the
Yeah.
Silicon Valley plus, Friedman doctrine plus
Yeah.
Jack Welch equals this,
Yeah.
how do we kind of create more of this other culture, and how do we scale it to a level where suddenly people go, oh, there is actually another path. It's not sort of niche.
Yeah.
It's another
Yeah.
way.
Well, at first, I mean, and I got to go back to it first. It's first the combination of first not not only celebrating, but also now beginning to demonize leaders that don't like people.
Yeah.
So when a Sam Altman says like, "Well, people are inefficient. You got to feed them for like 20 years," and like, and like talk about water resources, like you're like, do you just want to get rid of people, man? Like, so like
Right.
we need to first point out the
Yeah.
absurdity of that leadership, right? So
Yes.
that it's not on
1000%.
Forbes anymore. It's not on Fortune magazine. Because as long as we don't change that culture, you're going to have new entrepreneurs and new CEOs being like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
I want to be just like Jobs, just like Bezos, just like Altman, all of them, because they are being celebrated.
Yeah.
So once you're able to do that, right, or at least do that more, then you start celebrating the people that are doing really interesting work, right?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, we never celebrated the Zappos
Yeah.
CEO while he was alive. I don't
Yeah.
think we ever embraced some of the things that he was doing. We as like human beings need to be rewarding businesses that are treating humans like humans, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when those businesses start being more profitable, right? And they're um, they're using AI, but they're using it in like a humane sort of way, and we reward them by buying their products, right?
Yeah.
And we are now, I mean, it's almost like we have to create almost, if Fortune's going to celebrate all these
Altman.
toxic people, then
Yeah.
we have to make some other place to
Yeah.
celebrate
What's
these
the
leaders.
media like story? Like who's lifting that message up?
And also, you
At,
got to remember that a lot of these leaders that are doing really cool work don't want to brag because
yeah.
they're not
They're
narcissists.
not. Yeah. That's
So,
a good
like, this is
point.
the other challenge is like they're going to be quiet about it. Ben and Jerry's was very quiet about how
Yeah.
they ran their business for many years, even though
Yeah.
they were doing really creative stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's also a bit of the challenge. And in my opinion, it's almost like we have to create something brand new that's not capitalism. Like
Mm.
what is a new way of building businesses that are successful, that are profitable, but also give back to humanity? And it's like
Mm.
it's a new form of capitalism or
Yeah.
something that's not capitalism. Like we've created constructs in the past. We need to
Yeah.
create brand new ones that fit, you know.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say about this is those new businesses have to be sustainable
Yeah.
because like the extraction model that capitalism has built is
Hmm.
it's just not sustainable anymore. Like you
Yeah.
can't just get all of the market share from now on, right? Like
Hmm.
you have to be thinking about the environment when you're building a business.
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, I'm very open to all those ideas. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I tend to be someone who likes capitalism from a conceptual standpoint, and I like times how it runs. And
Yeah.
so I wonder if there is just an evolution of it, but that doesn't mean there can't be something else and we call it something else. I'm like, I kind of
Mhm.
don't really care at the end
Right,
of the
right.
day. I'm like, I think the things I like about capitalism are there's room for freedom and choice and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And it's not sort of pushing in that way. So how do you create a system that respects people's freedom and the right to sort of choose who we want to be and doesn't ultimately create these sort of nasty incentives that
Yeah.
that push us a certain way. I love your idea of like what is the version of Fortune or Forbes that is out there celebrating the crap out of people who are doing work in a good and human way. I think that's super needed. I think it's tricky. It's also when you brought up like the people who do this kind of work, they're not necessarily narcissists. You're right. And what's the worst part is that the few people who were narcissists ruined it in a lot of ways. I
Yeah.
think about like there's WeWork and there's a
Yep.
few others who
Yep.
who
There
who
was the
ran the
guy that did the
script.
what is it, $70,000 minimum?
Yes, that guy.
But he was super shady,
He was super shady, right? So it's like people who put in policies that were like, oh, that seems interesting, like you're onto something, and then they just turned out to be like, oh, you're what is that like? Instead of greenwashing, it's like purpose washing, like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Like you're
Yep.
just doing that thing. It's like, damn it, man. Like how do we find the real ones and
Right.
celebrate the real ones? It's funny you
Well,
mentioned,
this is also the challenge, right? Maybe it's not celebrating individuals as
yeah,
much anymore,
yeah,
right? It's celebrating organizations. I don't know who the
yeah,
CEO of Costco is, but
yeah.
I know they run a really good
It's a good
organization,
point. Yeah, it's not
right?
about being a
Like how are we
superhero.
celebrating community in
Yeah,
that way, right?
yeah, it's
And
really
and
interesting.
and then also recognizing all of this is a social construct. Work
Right,
was made up. So
right.
like at any time, anyone that's listening here, anytime you can change how your business is run by simply
Absolutely.
working with your team and being like, I don't want to run it that way. Like
Right,
we're not going to have 60-minute meetings just because everyone says we have to have
right,
60-minute meetings. Like it's the dumbest
right.
thing, right? I'm
Yeah,
going to do whatever, we're going to do our meetings outside. Like you're just
yeah,
breaking. I mean,
I
this is
know.
what I play is like break anything mundane and not helpful
Yeah,
and challenge like, why are we even doing it that way? Right.
yeah,
How frustrating is it that you literally go to a box building, go to a box office in a
Office.
box room, and then you're like, let's think outside the box, everybody.
Right.
It's just, what are we doing? Like,
Right.
what are we doing?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you're liking what you hear and like the idea of making work not suck, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. What would make your work culture more human? Let's talk about it. All right, back to the show. No, it is. I feel like that's like the best question about where we are with work. I mean, it's a good question for the world in general these days. But I think like when you talk about work, like what are we even doing, right? And I love the way you talk about bringing play in to just sort of like break it down,
Yeah.
like get rid of the box, like
Yeah. Well,
literally
just
through.
make fun of it,
Yeah,
mock the things that are absurd,
yeah,
and what I talk about a ton, cause some mischief. It's time
yes,
for us to cause some mischief.
yeah,
Like, you feel someone is toxic in your workplace? Let's strategize on how we're either going to get that person to go to therapy or get them fired. It's like
yeah,
one or the other, dude. Like therapy or
yeah,
bust for this, right?
yeah,
Let's cause some mischief. Of the mischief is what created a lot of these organizations in the first place.
yeah, right,
Like you forget that people forget Google had that 20% rule, right? Where they left their staff do whatever they wanted as
yeah,
long as it benefited Google. So it's like, go ahead, play and do whatever you want. And
right,
we're Gmail, Google News, AdSense, Google Earth. The foundations of Google came from play,
yeah,
right? Do
yeah,
we forget that? Do we forget that is,
yeah. I think we
has
do, right?
Google forgotten that?
I
Google's
I
forgotten
think
that.
they've forgotten it. I mean, I think
Like
that's
so like it's amazing places that have created such phenomenal innovations forgetting who they are, you
yeah,
know?
that's a whole nother challenge, right? I mean, I want to dive in a little bit to your work because I'm curious. Like, I mean, I know you're delivering a lot of talks, and then, like what is the message, and what does it look like when you show up and you tell people about play? Like, what does play actually mean at work? Because I think some people just it breaks their brains to even think about that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Well,
work is work.
most people when you bring up play, they're like, ew.
Yeah, like what is that?
They're like, at work? I'm trying to
Yeah,
make some money, man.
yeah,
So how do I make money playing?
right.
And I always bring up the oh, I forgot what his name is. Is it Steven Johnson? It might be Steven Johnson, where he'll say you'll find the future where people are having the most fun.
Yeah,
So it's just like, where's your future?
yeah,
Blockbuster wasn't having fun, didn't want to buy Netflix. Guess what happens? You became obsolete. So when I
yeah,
talk about it from that point, when I talk about it from the standpoint of just like, with AI, guess what? Ideas are going to even be more important
yeah,
because it's not going to be able to generate any new ideas for you. It's just
right.
going to be regurgitating old ones. So
Hmm.
where are your ideas going to come from? They're going to
Yeah,
come from play. They're
yeah.
going to come from taking risks, making
Hmm.
mistakes, creating an
Yes.
where you can try out a bunch of random things and
Hmm.
see what occurs, right?
Yeah.
No,
Mm.
like no one thought TikTok would have been a big thing up until like 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
But why is TikTok such a favorite platform for people? Because they literally play on that platform. They're
Mm.
making fun videos on that platform. They're
Yeah.
being ridiculous. They're doing all the things that they don't do on Instagram because it's more serious.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, much more serious, but TikTok get to play, right? It's still
Oh my
around,
God. Yeah.
so, and then what's funny is all the play that's happening on TikTok eventually gets to Instagram
Yep.
and then LinkedIn, and then eventually it's on the news. And
Right.
then you're like, whoa, well, why is
Yeah.
it on the news? Because it was fun, because it's
Yeah.
fast, because they're experimenting over there.
Yeah.
So
It's such.
that's what my challenge when I put to people, I'm like, hey, if you want to not be obsolete, you need to carve some time for play. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying like that fake, like
Hmm.
forced fun bullshit. Like I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that where I'm like, let's play pickleball or let's slide
Right.
down some slides. No, I'm talking about like allow your staff to pursue their zone of genius, the work
Hmm.
where they forget about time, the work that they would do even if they weren't getting paid to do this work. How do
Hmm.
you get them to do just some of their zone of genius work? Because again, positive psychology studies show you're 5 times more productive when you're doing your zone of genius work, meaning
Yeah.
all of your work has a ripple effect and is
Mm,
more productive. Because
yeah.
what happens, you feel seen, you feel heard, you feel appreciated, you feel valued, you feel loved because you're now doing your zone of genius work. You actually look forward to going to work. But if
Yeah.
most of your staff gets the Sunday scaries, it's because they're doing nothing that they are aligned with their values.
Yeah. It's such a good point. And it's like something you said in there, and I don't even remember the exact words, but as you said it, I was like, the biggest thing you can do sometimes as a leader is like just get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Just give
Yeah.
people room because I think no matter what age we are, if you put a few human beings in a room and they don't feel like they're being judged or that, people are watching the door to make sure
Yes.
something better happen, they're going to start playing.
Yeah.
They're going to tell jokes. They're going to make fun of shit. They're going to like put shit on the wall. They're going to
Yeah.
like tell stories,
Yeah.
whatever it is. They're going to like start get up and move in a certain way because suddenly you're like free and I can just express an idea wildly as opposed to like, oh, I got to be like this. I think about the world I came from, which is advertising, and it's all about ideas, right? And
Yeah.
at its best, and in the best jobs I ever had, it was just that you felt safe to just be, and then
Mm-hmm.
you just played it out. You figured it out, and
Mm-hmm.
you just laughed and like, and you were so damn productive in
Yeah.
that moment. And then I had the
Yeah.
experiences of like, I remember like one of my bosses at one time, he would like walk by the creative department and he would be like, I don't like it. It looks like they're just hanging out in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what we want.
That's what it looks like they're having too much fun.
Right.
Why are they
Look,
having so much fun out there? Ugh.
hey, are they working? I'm like, that's work, man. Like that's
Dude, and
it.
this is the issue, right? When you have mediocre managers that are all about control because they don't know what they're doing,
Yeah.
right? And they know they felt obsolete during COVID. That's why they were like, we got to get people back in the office because they had no idea what to do because they couldn't
Hmm.
tell people what to do. They're stifling all of this creativity.
Yeah.
And we think about, I remember I read this article and they were interviewing all these C-suite executives, and they were like, how many of you, what percentage of you do not share a really good idea because you're worried it's going to get stolen or you're not going to get credit? And they were
Yeah.
like, percent.
Hmm.
And these are like top Fortune 500 companies they were interviewing. So right now, all of us are using products that are not the best product because
Hmm.
no one wants to share those ideas. They didn't want
I
to give those
know.
because and like when you create that lack of psychological safety, right? When you create
Yeah.
that environment, well, of course, no one wants to play. Well, and I think the other worry is they're worried that people are going to be lazy, right? They're worried
Yeah.
that they're just
Yeah.
going to fool around.
Right.
People want to work. People want
Yeah.
to do really good work
Yeah.
if you give them a platform, but you have to trust them enough to do it. But
Yeah.
as long as we have mediocre leaders that feel the
Hmm.
need for control, they're going to crush that creativity and
Yeah.
crush the play.
I think the mediocre leadership thing is almost just like it's just a vestige of all that we talked about in the beginning, which is just like this model of the economy and all this stuff. And it was just like it was built to produce mediocre leaders that
Yeah.
could basically run from a position of fear and
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a lot of models for people to go, oh, there's a different way. And so I love that you just show up and go like, everything you know, I'm about to like smash it. And then
Yeah.
you're going to smash it. And you're
Yeah.
going to laugh at the fact that you're smashing it. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, what else can I build? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
like,
a lot of times when I'm going in for talks or I'm running workshops, it's really just to point out the absurdity of some of the work they're doing and be like,
yeah,
why are you doing it this way? Do
right.
we have to do it this way?
Yeah.
Let's brainstorm, let's play for a moment. I even
Hmm.
have them reflect back on what they loved to do as a kid to
Yeah.
actually tie to their core values and be like, well, if you
Hmm.
were a kid and you got the chance to create whatever you wanted, this organization,
Yeah.
what would you do? I was literally talking to an event director the other day, or a bunch
Hmm.
of event directors, and I was like, when you were a kid, you always dreamed of like making up whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now you have a budget to create whatever you want.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Like, this
Right.
is freaking cool, man.
I
Like you can
know.
just bring in circus performers, you could bring in flames, like you just do whatever you know.
Right.
Are you playing right now? And these event directors are like, no, I'm thinking about the budget. And I'm like,
Why?
why? I mean,
Right.
yes, the budget's important too, but like there's still
Right.
so much creativity. Are you allowing yourself to play right now? Or are you just kind of mailing it in because you're like, oh, I just got to do whatever I do? You
Hmm.
know, like what happened to the play at work, man? Or
Oh
just
my
what happened to
God.
your play?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think a whole bunch of things probably squeeze it out of us. You know, the way the school systems have been designed mostly
Yep.
like to produce us as sort of cogs as opposed to individual, like people with individual values and ideas. Um, but it's something you said, two things you said I want to come back to. One of which is you talked about like, you've got a budget, play with it. And my brain went back to actually to AI with this because I think
Mm,
there's so much money being poured into AI,
yeah.
just like gobs of money. And I think, and this is how we're using it.
Yeah.
Like really, like to your point,
Yeah.
like where's the cure for cancer? Where's that? But even in
Yeah.
a business, like I run an ad agency, like is the best thing I can do with this tool to just create more Instagram posts at
Right.
scale? Is that
Right.
really like step back for a
Right.
second and go like, who did, what would 6-year-old me think right now?
Yeah.
Like, what would 6-year-old me do with all this money pouring in and this
Yeah.
tool that has like ways of like putting shit together that we haven't experienced before? Like, you know what he would do? He would just play like crap with it and just like
Yeah.
put in the craziest prompts, like whatever, like just to see. But we're
Yeah.
like, I need to have the perfect prompt so that it says I can have, precisely like this kind of an image, which we know sells this amount of peanut butter. That,
Yep.
like it's so, we've just taken the next thing that could be an interesting tool and just jammed it into the box.
Yeah. And I think of two ads from the same company that I felt was like so creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Heineken, I remember, made an ad where they set up this I mean, it wasn't even a billboard. They set up this board
Mm-hmm.
that spins like a lotto machine.
Okay.
And they put it in the middle of an international airport. It might have been San Francisco International Airport.
Okay.
And people would just come up and they'd be like, "Hey, where are you going right now?" And they'd be like, "I'm going home or I'm going wherever." And they're like, "How about if you hit this button, you get to go wherever this button tells you you can go, and we'll pay for the whole thing." And it was so fast and and it was like this huge viral video, and
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I can't talk about play." Some people are like, "Oh, I can't, I got
Mm-hmm.
a bachelor party. Oh, I got to go back home. I got to go back to work." But there were some people who are like, "I'll go. All right."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, whoa, I'm going to Cyprus. I'll go to
Yeah.
Cyprus right now." And they literally get on the phone and be like, "Ma, I can't meet you. I got to go to Cyprus." Like so, like that
That's
was such a
awesome.
creative ad by
Yeah.
Heineken, and then they did this other ad which I thought was so creative, where they brought two people that didn't know each other,
I saw that one.
and
Yeah.
they had to build a bar together. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've ever seen this one, but
Yeah.
they built a bar together,
Mm-hmm.
and there were like directions to build the bar. I mean, it was just a
Yeah.
bunch of sections, and they connected them all together. And when they finished connecting them all together, while they're doing this, it takes like an hour or whatever. They're talking about stuff, all this different stuff, bonding. And then all of a sudden, when the bar's done, the Heinekens appear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they show video of both of them sharing their politics, and their politics is drastically
Yeah.
different from each other.
Oh, I love that.
And then at the end of showing those videos, they go, "Do you still want to have a beer with this person?" And even one person stood up and was about to walk out and then came back and was just like, "No." They all wanted to talk to each other. So
Yeah.
like when you have people playing like that,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm creating ads that actually can heal wounds,
Yeah.
right?
No, I mean,
I'm creating
it's,
ads that actually can bring people together and market my product, but
well,
also
that's the
not
beauty
do
of
it in
it,
a
right?
way that is like gross, but it's like communicating like, these are my values, these are
Yeah.
the values of our organization, and maybe these are your values too. So here, let's
Right.
that's a creative ad.
That's
AI
beautiful.
can't
Yeah.
create that.
Yeah.
Humans can create stuff like that.
I mean, the beauty of that, I mean, both of them are so clearly just rooted in humanity, right?
Yeah.
And they're both like trying to, give people a chance to experience some of the most beautiful parts of being human. the pure joy and elation and even freedom of, I'm going to go to Cyprus now. Like, oh my God, it's the surprise, the sort of elation of that. And then this other thing, which kind of cuts even a little deeper around like the fun of making something, which is just one of the great joys of being a person. And then this beautiful sort of recognition of humanity, of shared humanity in a moment where so much of life is built to not allow that, right? So much of our online world and all of is built to actually make sure that those people would just immediately hate each other. Right. And you're right.
And it's play that brought them together, right?
It is, right. It's experiencing all those emotions that play brings out, right?
Yeah.
Play just sort of shakes us up, right? In this beautiful way where all of the stuff has a chance to surface, as opposed to we've put all of these padlocks on our emotions.
Yeah.
And so I really love that. One thing,
and I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'm going to share it anyway because I'm already on the kick.
There's no appropriate or not here. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's a part of a story that I share on my TEDx talk, right?
Yeah.
Where the First World War is happening. I mean, we're talking about a few months into the First World War. Okay. There's a stalemate between German and English forces. I believe this was in Germany.
Okay.
And, because it was the First World War, there was a lot of trench warfare. So you just sat in your trench, soaked and gross and just tired. And these are 18-year-old kids being like, oh man, I don't even want to be here. I don't even know why I'm here. Right.
Right.
And then it was Christmas Eve of World War I. And there was this massive barrage of artillery all day long. And then at some point it just stopped. And it was silent for a few hours. And then there was a German soldier that started singing in German Silent Night.
Oh my gosh.
From his trench. And an Irish dude, or I don't know if it's Irish or Scottish, but one of the guys that played bagpipes started playing with the German.
Oh my God. Wow.
The trench. And then some Englishmen joined in and started singing. And then they started singing carols over the trenches.
Wow.
And then at one point, a German soldier comes out with candles, right? And a white flag, and is comes out to the middle of the pitch. An Englishman came and met them there. And then all these other soldiers came out, and they started exchanging chocolates and cigars. And then someone brought out a soccer ball, and they played soccer on the pitch where they were just killing each other.
That's
and
crazy.
This happened all across the Western Front.
Really?
And there were some places where this happened where someone came out with their candles and then got shot. But their desire so much for humanity that they were willing to risk their life just for that one joyful, playful moment. Wow. And because they played, right? Because they were, passing pictures and all this, and playing soccer and all this stuff. When they had to go back at the end of the day, the next day they were ordered to fire upon each other and they couldn't. So talk about play stopping a world war for a day. Talk about the impact that play can do.
That's amazing.
In challenging indoctrinated young men to actually see the humanity in one another. That's what I want to be talking about. That's the power I believe play has.
Yeah.
So, that's why I'm trying to incorporate it into workplaces,
Yeah. I mean, that just base need for human connection is so powerful. And I think we're living through a time where we're missing that in so many ways. And I think, that story is just crazy. My brain is breaking just hearing it, but it's obviously amazing and beautiful. But I think at any scale, two people, a workplace, a city, a state, a country, a world, just the notion of bringing this idea of playing and creating room for us to just experiment and be with each other in that way, I
Mm-hmm.
think has so much potential. I mean, you said this thing earlier about we're not getting the best products from companies because they're not having room to play and experiment and actually
Mm-hmm.
share those ideas because they're in a state of fear. And I thought, like, if you scale that to like a world leader, the president or whatever,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
somebody who just comes with that mindset of like,
Yeah.
we need more room to play and experiment
Yeah.
and be with each other and be with each other in ways where we're free to share the best of ourselves,
Yeah.
and live in our values and connect to people and come up with stuff. The world
Yeah.
needs the best ideas right now,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
a million
Exactly. Yep.
different ways, from curing
Yep.
cancer to wars to
Yep.
everything in between. And yet we are putting a box around that
Yeah.
because of how we choose to be with each other,
Yeah.
right? If somebody just showed up, there you go, man. Jeff Harry for president.
Well, I mean, I will say this, like you see this with some politicians now that are allowing their communities to play. You see that with Zoran in New York.
Yeah.
Zoran Montgomery, he actually leveraged the community to be like, hey, help me find all the potholes and then we'll fill them all. And then they were
Mm.
able to do that.
Oh,
Hey,
that's cool.
we need to shovel snow and we don't have enough staff. We'll pay you to shovel snow this summer. They cleared snow drifts that they would have never been able to.
Wow.
Like, they're people that, again, we just need to find people and recognize the cool stuff that they're doing and
Yeah.
celebrate that and be like, we need to just do be more of that. Anyone that is celebrating community and play are people that we should be spending more time
That's a
analyzing.
great point. Yeah. We just need to start lifting that up more. I mean, it's funny. I've thought about this idea for my own business, and I don't know that it can have that kind of impact, but on a small scale, it's similar, which is there's all these like best places to work stuff out there,
Yeah.
and I appreciate them. I do. I don't always know. Some of them are better than others, but I've thought about some kind of like desuckified work
Oh, yeah.
words or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And it's like, but it's like around this, what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, yes, some of the metrics and like, let's do the surveys, whatever, but also like, are you creating room for people to just be and play and experiment?
Yes.
What do people feel like on Sunday night before they come to work
Yes.
for you? Like
Yes.
that stuff, the real stuff. And then like, that's like my small little thought on this. Is
I
like,
think that's a great idea. No, because again, it's what we talked about at the beginning. Who's
Yeah.
celebrating these people?
Yeah.
If you're highlighting them, other
Mm.
people are going to start doing the same, right?
Yeah. You got to start somewhere. Yeah.
This was great. This was fun.
So I've been throwing some questions your way. I'm curious if you have one you'd like to throw to our audience.
Yeah. I think there's a few different ones. If we're trying to think about desuckifying the workplace, right? How are we making work suck less?
Mm-hmm.
My first challenge to them is who is that toxic person in your workplace and what are you going to do about them?
Mm.
Are you going to move them to another department? Are you going
Yeah.
to, check them? Are you going to set boundaries around them?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to get them, or are you going to get them fired?
Mm-hmm.
And if none of those things are an option, are you okay with eventually finding some other place? Maybe it's a different department or maybe a different organization where you got to go.
Yeah.
Because as long as that exists, then we can't. But we have to clear the playground of bullies
Yeah.
before we play. So that would be my first question to them.
Yeah.
And then the second one would be, and this is kind of like when was the last time you played?
Yeah.
When was the last time you played personally? And I'm not talking about like with your kids.
Yeah.
But also, when was the last time you played at work?
Yeah.
And how do you like foster that? Again, it's what you talked about earlier, when you were brainstorming with a bunch of people, right? I know I do this a lot when we would do events and you were like, oh, it's such a fun brainstorming activity, right? And then we create something that's really amazing. When was the last time you did something like that? And can you foster that again?
Yeah.
Right. And then probably the last question I would ask them is like, who needs to be celebrated that you're not celebrating?
Mm.
And that might even include yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like who is doing really phenomenal, outstanding work that is also fostering safety, community, play, enjoy either out there, someone
Yeah.
famous or just someone at your
In
organization.
your world.
And
Yeah.
are you letting them know? Because if
Yeah.
not, please let them know because they
Yeah.
need.
That's a great point. I mean, you talked earlier about like, we're always celebrating sort of the CEO, and maybe that's part of the problem because it can feed that sort of,
Yeah.
narcissism thing. But what about just celebrating the folks in the team who are doing the cool shit?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
who's desuckifying work? Like,
Yeah.
who's like out there, like
Yeah.
doing it at whatever scale they're able to do it from their
Yeah.
standpoint. Like, elevate those people, give them, you know, you know, give them a stage for a minute just to say
Right.
like that. We want more of
Like
that.
how do we set boundaries around the toxic people, right?
Yeah.
And then how do we celebrate the people that should be celebrated? If
Yeah.
you can do that, work's going to suck less.
Yeah.
Just run it there.
Yeah. So I feel like we may have already answered this question, but I'll give you a chance to
Yeah.
tie it up if you want, which is if you could wave a magic wand and just create like a fully desuckified work world, what does that look like?
The best way of answering this is, when you go to a sporting event and the best fans are in the nosebleeds,
Mm-hmm.
and then the corporate heads are down below on the floor.
Yeah.
I would swap those.
Mm.
So it would be the exact same thing. I would swap that, what is it? That Amazon or the Amazon worker that's working the night shift at what do you call it? And put them in the position of power.
Mm.
Move the person that has a Bezos and be like, you do that job. Like, talk
Yeah.
about undercover boss. Like, let's
Yeah.
swap. So I would do that magic wand of having CEOs experience the hardest job at the organization
Mm.
for a year, right?
Yeah.
And I would put someone in a position of power
Yeah. That's
that
awesome.
always is giving, that is getting paid the least. And I
Mm-hmm.
would allow them to see how they would run the organization.
That would
And
be
it
such a
totally
wild
different.
experiment.
It would be
Yeah.
totally different. It would be such a cool experiment to see.
I love it. I love it. One of the last things I like to do is invite people to make a sound effect because if you listen to my show, you'll hear cats meowing and other fun sounds. And
Okay.
so every guest on this show, pretty much, a couple exceptions, have made some sound that ends up showing up in the intro to the show. Are you game for it?
Let me think of a sound. It'd be a sound it'd be a sound to point out that like a meeting sucks.
Okay. What's that?
So it'd be in the middle of the meeting and someone would say something like, all right, so if we go to slide 38, and I'd be like, that's what I would do. Just to let them know. No, that's the sound.
Yeah, that is amazing. Oh my God. I love that sound. Well, that will
You know what I'm saying?
that will be a very fun part of
The people would be like, what? It'd be like, yeah, that's how I feel.
You heard me.
I don't need to verbalize this.
Yeah, no, it's all there. It's all there. Well, before we go, I want to give you a chance just to let people know how they can track you down online and learn about all the cool stuff you're doing.
So Jeff Harry. So if you search Jeff Harry Plays, JEFFHARRYPLAYS, that's my handle on everything. TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. I make all my stupid videos. I wear a lot of wigs and mock the workplace. If you want to find me on my website, rediscoveryourplay.com, and I can come to your workforce and cause some mischief. And if you want to check out my TEDx talk, I did a TEDx talk called Beyond Hierarchy, how we can heal the division between us through play.
Ooh, I love that. That's awesome. I invite everyone to check it out. I'll put it all in the notes. I love that you mentioned Gary Ware earlier because he was on the show a couple of years back. So I love that you guys are playing in the same world. And I just want to say thanks, Jeff. This was just such a fun conversation. I mean,
it was so much fun, man.
It was the opposite of your experience when you went into the toy industry, right? Like, can you imagine if I brought the play guy on and it was just like, we should play. Here's slide 37 of my play deck. Like, you live up to the billing of a play guy. So I appreciate you bringing that energy. So thank you so much, Jeff.
This was awesome.
Awesome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the DesuckifyWork podcast. And a huge thanks to Jeff for bringing big energy and bold ideas to the show. You can follow Jeff on LinkedIn and check out his site at rediscoveryourplay.com. Find him just about anywhere at Jeff Harry Plays. If you enjoyed the conversation and would like to explore what a more human work culture could look like, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. Type meow in the calendar invite, and I'll also send you a free DesuckifyWork t-shirt. Bye, everyone!